Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this very special roundtable of discussions between our very esteemed guest from Israel, His Excellency Ambassador Naor Gilon, Mr. Shani Rappaport, Head of Diplomacy, Israel to India, Mr. Doron Gidoni, Innovation Attaché at Embassy of Israel, and our esteemed guests from TiE Chandigarh and our ecosystem partners. I would now request our past president and chairman, Mr. I.S. Paul, to formally welcome and introduce His Excellency Ambassador Naor Gilon.
Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome, Mr. Naor Gilon and his team, the members of TiE from 2003, I would call it batch, right? 2003 batch. That's when we established TiE. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gilon has a great blend of diplomatic and corporate experience. He was ambassador before coming to India to Netherlands, to Italy. He was minister counselor in Washington. He was deputy ambassador of Israel to Hungary way back in 92, 95. He also has a rich corporate experience, and those of us from TiE would be very pleased to know that from 2016 to 2018, he was the CEO of NIG International Consulting. Do you know how many employees were there in that consulting firm? Make a guess.
3,500.
Zero.
Wow.
Right? He was
I was just going to say two.
he was the only one. Okay, so no wonder he's coming from Israel, the land of entrepreneurs. He was educated in Budapest from Corvinus University, and in 1986, 1988, he did his bachelor in political science from Tel Aviv University. Ambassador Gilon is married with 4 children and 5 grandchildren. This was speaking from the paper I have. Now I must add something for which Robin didn't give me the paper. But that is because, sir, I am an unabashed fan of Israel. Israel is not a nation of 7-8 million people. It's a state of mind. I was exposed to your practice of Rosh Gidol in 1982 when I was doing my MBA in IMD, Switzerland. And we had a classmate. He enriched our class by his presence, called Ariel. He was a captain in the Israeli army, and Rosh Gidol was very apparent to me when he would ask the same number of questions from the professors that the rest 55 would ask. He will keep on pestering the professors, why is it so, why, how, when. But that's Rosh Gidol. My second exposure to the way you think was when I read the Startup Nation. Obama's autobiography is called Audacity of Hope. These words befit Israel the most. I am reminded of a joke that I read in Startup Nation. An American, an Israeli, a Chinese, and a Russian are standing around the corner, and a reporter comes in and he says, "Excuse me, what is your opinion on the meat shortage?" And the American says, "What is shortage?" And the Russian says, "What is meat?" And the Chinese says, what is opinion? And the Israeli says, what is excuse me? They always question, sir, chutzpah is your country's brand mark. It's your trademark. Yours is the most enterprising country in the world. That is why it is a great pleasure to welcome you as a representative of that great enterprising country to the Indus Entrepreneurs Chandigarh. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank
Honored to be here. I learned a few things about Israel being a state of mind rather than a state. Wonderful thing. I should use it in the future probably. Israel. I don't. How much time do we have? Who is the?
We have 30 minutes, sir.
40 minutes?
Yeah, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
30,
We have
40.
time.
Okay, so I will try and speak 20 minutes and then we can make it a dialogue if it's okay. I can speak on tons of things, but I will try to focus myself, especially a little bit of India-Israel history and where we are today, and a little bit of Israel as a startup nation, as was mentioned here. So, our first Prime Minister, Ben-Gurion, saw India and Gandhi as the sister movement because we were both under British control. In our case, it was a mandate, only a mandate. Through conflict, that's unfortunate in the sense that no one wants to be under conflict. On the other hand, this is what makes you sharper and faster than anyone else, especially when you are such a tiny country like Israel, surrounded by enemies. But if you go to the desert where Ben-Gurion chose to finish his life after he came out of politics as an act of Zionism, going to the desert, which is 60% of the state of Israel, and saying we cannot give it up, we are a small country and we need to use it, you would see in his bedroom, very modest bedroom I should say, the picture of Gandhi. But the start of the relations was not as good as we hoped to have. When Israel was declared by Ben-Gurion, the first state to acknowledge Israel was the United States, the second one was the USSR at the time, 1948. And he's quoted as saying that once India will acknowledge Israel, the cycle is completed. So it took India another couple of years, 1950, Nehru recognized Israel. 1953, we opened the consulate in Bombay of the time without reciprocity, so India did not open, and it was limited as a consulate, could not do everything. And the big change, the first big change was in 1992, when we established full diplomatic relations. This was after two historical events, one of them of great magnitude, which was the collapse of the Soviet Union, of the Berlin Walls, as we call it. And the other was in 91 was the Madrid conference, the first time that Israel and its neighbors were put into around the one table in Madrid. And then there was a wave of countries which established, renewed, depend on the status, relations with Israel. China was first, and a few weeks afterwards, also India. All along the years, India was part of the non-aligned movement, or maybe the leader of the non-aligned movement, I should say, and was not, didn't have a too friendly policy towards Israel. But defense cooperation went on also in these years, and I guess that you know, now you are commemorating Kargil, the day of Kargil soon, and Israel did supply India relevant, significant capabilities also, defense capabilities there. So from 1992, we are now celebrating 30 years of full diplomatic relations. Our relations, again, started quite slow. Defense was the first element, then agriculture came in. Drip irrigation is an Israeli invention. From the time that Israel, like India today, 70% of the economy or the people were working around agriculture. And we are arid, so we had to find ways to grow with less water. Long story. But Israeli companies, drip irrigation companies, and other agriculture technological companies were here. You know, I don't know if you know Nan Jain. Nan is a kibbutz in Israel that was bought by Jain. The Netafim, different Israeli companies were very strong in the market. And from 2005, we started establishing what we call centers of excellence in agriculture. Today we have about 30 in your, I know Punjab, we are on the Punjabi weight this time of Chandigarh, but if you look at the Haryana side of it, we tilt a little bit to the other side now. In Haryana, we are going to inaugurate now our 5th Center of Excellence. Haryana is a wonderful partner. And we have here, many are in horticulture around India, the 30 centers. And by the way, by the end of next year, we are hoping to have more than 40 centers. And these are catering to the simple farmers. These are not for the big farmers, mainly. The idea is to help the small farmers have much more yield and more sophistication, but enough sophistication for them, not too over-sophistication that they cannot adopt intellectually or financially. So we are trying to be more accurate, and we have in horticulture, we have in mango, we have honey and bees in Haryana. So this is a big, was always, so the two legs of the relations which continues, one was defense always, and the other ones became agriculture. We have had over the years visits of dignitaries, 2 Israeli presidents, 1 Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, and then in 2015 the Indian president came to Israel for the first time. The big change, I think, was the visit of Prime Minister Modi in 2017 to Israel. Prime Minister Modi brought with him, first of all, I think he had a warm spot for Israel to start with, but he brought with him also what is called the dehyphenation. So they said all over the years, the Palestinian issue was ruling our relations with India. Saying, oh, because of the Palestinian issue, we don't do that with Israel, we don't do this. And we were missing, both of us, on a lot of opportunities that could have been done. So he said, no, Israel is Israel, the Palestinians are Palestinians, I will deal with both. It doesn't mean that I'm deserting the Palestinians or forgetting them, but I have interest with Israel and I want to pursue them. And by the way, this philosophy was adopted a few years ago with UAE and Bahrain with the Abraham Accords, because they did the same thing. So for years, these countries, the Palestinian or Israeli relations were held hostage to our situation with the Palestinians. But they had interest, they wanted to cooperate, especially UAE that has a lot to offer and a lot to get from Israel, both of them. They wanted the relations with Israel. So they went forward, and our relations in 2 years with UAE are in an incredible place. Also with Morocco, by the way, which is not Abraham Accords, they joined later. So the same idea was employed also there. But our relations with India took a big change to the better. In 2017, the visit of Modi, and 2018, the visit of Prime Minister Netanyahu to Israel. I don't know, I work, I do diplomacy, and there is one picture, sometimes picture are making the thing. There is a very famous picture in Israel when both Prime Ministers are standing on the beach. They went to see, by the way, a car that is a water purification mobile car for disasters and places. But there is a picture, very intimate. You see the intimacy between them, and this is, doing much more than many activities that my great team and myself are trying to do here. One picture like that, and Netanyahu came here in 2018. So if before we had 2 legs, today our relations are exploding. They are on everything. Our trade is over $7 billion. 20 years ago we started, 30 years ago when we started the relations, we were around $200 million. So the change is great. 1 billion is services, and this brings it also to the high-tech side of our relations. So the rest is commodities. But this is a big part. Israel is, and that's where we are today, more or less. We are hoping we had a few cancellations because of political instability in Israel and other elements. And our previous Prime Minister Bennett got contracted COVID 4 days before he was supposed to come here. Every time there is a story, we do need a Prime Minister level visit here, and we are hoping to have it next year, the first half before India goes into election campaign of 2024. So this is more or less where we are there. And Israel is a startup nation. So it was mentioned here from the book, why was Israel called a startup nation? Because 2 guys wrote a book under this title, really writing about the ecosystem of Israel in innovation. But as I like to say, slogans are wonderful, but you have to have behind it some substance. And there is a lot of substance, because if you look at Israel today, first of all, about 20% of our population is around high-tech, but over 50% of our export is high-tech. So our GDP of Israel today is among the higher in the OECD countries. We are over 50,000 per capita, and this is mainly thanks to the innovation sector, which is the engine of the Israeli economy. And again, employing only 20%, but giving the push for the country forward. Israel is a small country, small in size and population. By the way, we are 9.5 million, out of them 7 million Jews, more or less. We go into India in size and in population 140 to 150 times. We are very, very small, but this is also part of our strength, because being small, you can concentrate your efforts. You have to feed less mouths. You can be more selective about what you do and how you do it and how you promote your business and your stuff. And I'm trying to, I think, what are the reasons that we are there as a startup nation? What are the elements that you can say about Israel that makes it a startup nation? So per capita, the most startups in the world, 7,000, nothing in comparison to India. The investment in R&D is about 5%, the highest in the world. Patents, highest or second in the world. Education, number 2 or 3 in the world. Nobel Prizes, number 1 in the world. So there are many elements that are there, and the military service, which is a very important element in Israel, which is helping us a lot, because we have the luxury of getting into the military, all the young and brightest. In the past, we didn't understand the asset that we hold. We thought that if they can hold a weapon and shoot, that's what they should do in order to defend Israel. And with time, we understood that defending Israel is not only through shooting, it's through technology. This is the thing that will gap on the needs of Israel, being a very tiny country in size and population with huge neighbors which are threatening it. And that's the change, I think. Many of the first of all, the networking of people, young, bright people. In the military, they developed incredible things that came out. You know, some of them, like firewall that you know, like voice over internet, ICQ, an Israeli company. What we now have today, WhatsApp and everything, is all offsprings of this technology that was developed by young kids who just wanted to communicate in different camps and different rooms among themselves. They were too lazy to get up, so they wrote something on the code on the computer that will enable them that, and the rest is history. So a lot of things came out, but also these young people, also after military service, they already had the friends smart like them, ambitious, understanding what they can do together. And many of the technologies of Israel are originating from these young, bright people who finished army military service and went to civilian life and did the same thing there. So this is part of the story of the startup nation. If a little bit on our relations today, India, Israel, I wrote myself a few elements. So the Israeli investments in India, the direct investments, the FDI, are not that high. Are around the last 20 years, around almost $300 million. But indirect, by the way, now I just hosted the Israeli insurance companies, indirect in billions. But this is not, again, it's a different kind of investment into the economy. There are about 300 Israeli investments here in India, especially in high-tech, as we said, agriculture and production lines here also. For example, just to mention a few Israeli companies, the biggest Israeli employer in India is Amdocs in Pune, with about 14,000 employees. They're doing billing. You have here Teva. You have ITE, which have the biggest, I think in Chennai, the biggest water desalination in India. Netafim, Adama, another Israeli agriculture company. So there are a few Israeli companies present here. If we look at the potential between the countries, again, the sky is the limit, because if you, in 7,000 startups in Israel, while being a leader, for example, in cyber for sure, because we have about 600-700 cyber security startups in Israel, because we are the most cyber attacked country in the world, not per capita, nominally. So there we are strong, but Israel has strong presence in clean tech, in medical devices, in digital medicine, in cybersecurity, I mentioned, agtech, food tech, AI, ageless, water management. We have, by the way, in India, the only water attaché that Israel has in the world, in Delhi, in the embassy. We have a water attaché who is doing here with local, including Chandigarh and Hasay, planning of water systems. So we don't do the execution because Indian companies can do it much better. But then integrational planning of the area, seeing what are the assets, how you can use the most of them. I don't know if you know about the water system in Israel. For years, when we were in the 50s, we were a country based on agriculture. Our biggest export were Jaffa oranges. I don't know if you heard that Jaffa. This was Israeli. Now I think it's Spanish or Moroccan. It's not Israeli for many years because we stopped exporting oranges. We had to. We needed. We were desperate. Israel was an immigrant country, desperate for foreign currency, and we did what we had to do. But once we understood that it's too costly, because citrus are consuming a lot of water, and actually we are exporting our water. In other words, so we are making money through exporting the water we don't have. We stopped doing that. And we started developing also technologies and kind of agriculture. Today, I think that Israel is a net export in agriculture. While we started with 70% of the population around it, today maybe 2% of the population is around. It's a much more sophisticated, bigger farms. People left farming, it's hard. And instead of the small farms, they united into collectives, or one farmer used to lease out from smaller farmers who went to work in the city in other jobs. Used to lease, he leases, and now he can cultivate 10, 20 small farms together, and it's worthwhile. So the effort is there, and you buy machinery, you buy what is needed, and you can do everything and make money also on this. So water, one of the powers of Israel is the fact that we pay for our water. Countries who don't pay for their water will not invest in saving them. The only incentive to invest is that you can save money. If you don't save money, if water is not an element, and this is the first, element of running a good water system, we reuse almost 90% of our water for agriculture. So we don't bring them to drinking level because the cost benefit is not there. But for agriculture, you reuse it. The next country after Israel, I think, is Spain with 20-something percent, 27, 28%. So the gap is huge. And we didn't invent, but we commercialized desalinization of water. And now water is not anymore an issue or a problem between us and our neighbors. We are supplying, by the way, Jordan much more water than we committed to in our agreements, because we share the Jordan River. If you would see the river, you would laugh at me, because it does not entitle the word river in Indian or any country. It's a small stream that is going there. But anyhow, we are supplying them now water, and much more than we committed to, because our agriculture, our reuse of water, our desalinization, so many things around it together we join forces. And I think I will stop here. We are strong also in Industry 4.0, Internet of Things, IoT, artificial intelligence. We are cooperating with India on many of the things, by the way. I think one of our problems is that Israeli startups started towards the US. The money that came to Israel, the French first, we are also number one in the world in venture capital per capita. And we have, by the way, it's very interesting to say, we have almost 100 unicorns, which is relatively the same number of India. We started earlier, so it's not that we are doing it at the same time. India is running very fast. The big difference is that India is a huge market. In Israel, you will never reach here. If you have a product that is viable for Indian market, you are a unicorn in 2 days, because the value is seen. You know that you can make the money come back to you. Israel, we would never, in a market, would never reach a unicorn. Never. It has to be international appeal. 9.5 million people are not worth 1 billion as a market in any field, probably. So we do a lot of. We are also an island de facto, so our neighbors are not economically either. Now we have peace agreements with most of them, but again, it's not compatible, the economies. We are very much an island, so we are not good in B2C. We are far away from our customers. It's not our fault that we are not patient enough, we are not service enough. We have our good sides and our bad sides. Chutzpah is, it's the chutzpah is, by the way, Rosh Gadol is a big head. And this is a negative thing to say to someone in the military in Israel. It means that it's someone who causes problems to everyone because he's asking too many questions. And then we will pay for it. As a soldier, if someone asks questions, someone else would pay. But chutzpah is taken from Yiddish, not even from Hebrew. And this is daring, like dare to do things. So we have these elements of daring. We are a very flat society. Their hierarchy is very weak in Israel, and this gives a lot of, you can debate. It will not be odd, if you read the book, it will not be an odd situation that the CEO of a high-tech company will have a meeting with all the 200 his employees, to tell them about his vision for the future, and someone middle rank will stand up and say, I think you're wrong, you're taking us to the wrong direction, in front of everyone. This is not something inconceivable in Israel. So that's part of the DNA, the good and the bad. So Israel is a more B2B technology company, meaning we supply the suppliers, and this gives us some strength. So we had a growth last year, post-COVID, everyone had higher, but we had 6.3%. Next year is going to be like everyone else, it will be lower, I guess. Thank you also to Russia, Ukraine elements, but also other elements in the world. But anyhow, as an OECD country, we are GDP per capita of over $50,000 a year, and we compare ourselves to OECD. We are not doing as well as India. India did better, I think, this year of growth, but we are in a different, we are competing, or we are comparing to the OECD countries, which is totally different. So in general, we were able to weather the crisis, the world crisis, because we are B2B. Customers might decide that it was a bad year for the family and not buy a new phone. But businesses usually cannot afford skipping in a bad year advancement in comparison to the competition. So they continue to invest because it's a must for the survivability of the business. And Israel really did quite well, I think, over the years. But again, we are vulnerable at the same time because if there will be something will happen to the technological hype in the world, we will be one of the first victims. It's over 50% of our exports. So, it has the sides of everything. I think I will stop here so we can also have somewhat of a dialogue and we can answer your questions. So, please. There is a mic here, if it would be helpful. I think it's switched off to me.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Gilon. It's been extremely inspiring. You spoke about challenges, and you spoke about the fact that if you don't have enough resources, magic happens, and you see that every day around us. I have one question for you and one request for you. I hope I can mention that. My name is Atul Khosla. I am the founder and vice chancellor of Shulini University. We are very small, but we are India's #1 research university today. No resources, but that's what happens with magic.
We spoke about that, I don't want to be, that also small bodies can...
Absolutely. So my question to you is, sir, magic is happening. We're all entrepreneurs here. We're all leaders of companies. We're running startups in our own right. What are the 3 things that you think we should do to build this wonderful ecosystem that you've done in Israel? So what can we do very specifically? And in terms of my request to you is, you spoke about lots and lots of things, but you gave only 2 seconds to education. We said that you have the 3rd best education system in the world. So me and Madhu Man, we represent universities. Surprisingly, I've learned that the best universities of the world need not sit in the US and the UK or Canada. I'm just coming back from Taiwan and I have some wonderful stuff happening over there. I would request you to start a dialogue of universities between India and Israel, and I'd love to be participating in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, you are challenging me with very hard questions, especially the first one, 3 things for the ecosystem. I think that India is on the right track, and I was asked before, if India can go Israel's path. India is not Israel. Israel has the advantage and disadvantage of being small. So the challenges and the needs, we don't have to feed mouths here. We can concentrate most of our efforts, thank you. We can concentrate most of our efforts towards innovation because, again, it's much easier for us to move a small ship of 9.5 million people, no problems, also small countries, so it's very homogeneous. So there are no big gaps like in India in the level of universities. So I don't know to tell you what are the three. I think that India is on the right direction, and I think that the government is taking the right direction, and I don't think our examples, what we do is right. I can tell you that you probably need to do conscription because the military is a big element in our success, but there are countries without military service that are succeeding very well. So even that, I wouldn't take from Israel advice on it. I would do the Indian way, not the Israeli way. This is probably the right way. And we are not the third best in education in the world. We are the third highest, second or third in the world in the people who graduated university percentage. I wish we would be second or third, although we have universities, by the way. We are not good in undergraduate. Countries usually, when they do undergraduate in English, in a vast element, they want, non-speaking, not English-speaking countries, they want to make money. Because undergraduates, they pay good money, foreigners. Israel is not looking for that. We don't have the capacity. We have 9 or 10 universities in Israel. And this is very small, and this is part of the wish for cooperation with Israel. At the end of the day, the difference in sizes magnitude between India and Israel is inconceivable. And it's very hard for the same universities and they are, we have, I think, 3-4 universities that are really also in the Shanghai listing, but also beyond that, probably informally even better. You take the Weizmann Institute, which is the postgraduate university, it's not a university, institution, research institute, one of the best in the world. By the way, Indian students population in Israel is the biggest foreign body of students. It's 1,000 big. And again, most of them, 90+%, are postgraduates, so research students in different fields. So Weizmann Institute, the Technion in Israel. Technion is the technical school that was established, by the way, by Albert Einstein 100 years ago. Together, a year later, I think, the Hebrew University. Both of them, he pushed for them. Technion, it's a small university. I think any given time they have like 14,000 students. That's the size. They have 4 Nobel Prizes, only this institution. Technical. So it's not MIT in many things, but maybe in some things it's better. I have a good friend in Delhi, by the way, that his son wanted to go to IIT. Very well-off family, but making it to IIT, he said, okay, if he doesn't make it to IIT, we'll go to MIT. And he wasn't joking, by the way. So it was not a joke, but he told me a lot about the level of IITs and the hardship of getting into IIT, while to MIT, it's not easy, but you can make it. So Technion, Hebrew University, also usually among the 100 best in the world in Shanghai numbers, and also Tel Aviv, my alma mater, Tel Aviv universities. These are very, very strong institutions. And the problem is that everyone is seeking to cooperate with them. It's very, very hard. Capacity is the element here. And again, there is potential, but it's not as big as people think because of the limited capacity. But a lot is going on. Since there are relatively so many Indian students, research students and everything, so a lot is going on, joint programs. We have also money dedicated for that between the G2G for industrial R&D. We have I4F, it's called, a program that is putting money into industrial R&D. So things are happening. Education, not that easy. There has to be always added value in doing this cooperation for both sides in order to have the motivation and ability to do it over time. Once it's easy. The problem is always continuing the process. Starting the process, everyone wants to come to India and have a wonderful thing in the Himalayas. It's wonderful. But then how do you make them have the added value of continuing because they see that they get beyond their wonderful trip to the Himalayas? So this is always a challenge that I found all over my career. The momentum, keeping building it and keeping it.
Thank you.
Ambassador, I think it's a great platform given to us by TiE. From 2 of us are from education. So we were just discussing when you were not there that industry people are going there for collaboration. So what we can start doing is, and it will be a great request to you, from our education bodies, that you first do the collaboration. Thus the researchers can visit both the countries, because sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to take the visas, and because we have no connections there. So you can arrange at your level that some of the education institutes who are okay with going to Israel, to know your systems in education. You said that undergrad is not very good there, but research is very good. But in India, undergrad is very good. So first of all, we should start doing the collaboration with the researchers, and because you are doing in the sustainability, and India has got that mandate to work on SDG 17 UN goals, and I think we all are doing it in that manner. And we have a collaboration with 165 universities all across the globe. So it will be good that we have not started yet with Israel. And if, because both the universities in the north, we have Titkara University, Shilani University, and many universities here in this region. So let us have a group of people from the researchers from here, and the researchers from your country can meet together. They should start first the research component, because it's very good there.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a great platform given to us if you can do something in that.
I will do it. I suggest, Shani, afterwards you can speak. And you can see,
because Ambassador, this will be good for cultural immersion also.
No,
because
it's
in this area is lots of culture which they can see and they will enjoy. And the best part is the Jugaad technology.
Yeah, the undergraduate, they do it usually in Israel,
Yeah.
because it's cheap and high level,
Yeah.
and in Hebrew. That's Israeli students, and in order to, in our system, by the way, academic system, you will never get a permanent seat in university if you studied only in Israel. You have to have, until your third degree, you have to have either doc, postdoc, MA, something done in international good university. Then you have chances. It's very hard to go into our universities in general. But Shani can be afterwards, you can speak to her, and she can be a bridge.
I have the Jugaad technology also.
Thank you. Education team. I come from science background, and I got the opportunity to attend the mentorship seminars by Advocate Nava. So I've been and you talk about high tech. The Israel is kind of a world leader in high tech and technology, and India also is promoting the startup ecosystem recently. So I want to understand. But the breakthroughs are going to come from fundamental sciences, from foundational sciences. So where Israel is, and are there any Israel-India ties in exploring fundamental research?
There are and the high tech and private sector. All is one. They are blended into each other. So there are countries who think that if you take the knowledge of the university, the sacred knowledge, and use it for, God forbid, making money or making the world a better place, depends where you come from. Yeah. It's a disgrace. It's in Israel for years, from the 50s, we always had what we called technology transfer. The big universities, especially, by the way, the Weizmann Institute and Hebrew University together, their technology transfer accumulated over the years more than $10 billion that came back to the universities. Because they understood that having information or knowledge and know-how in the university is very nice, but it's also, you can use it for practical reasons, and they commercialized it. Nava was the head of the technology transfer of the Hebrew University, the mentor that we brought here to work. So for us it was always a belief that we have to use this knowledge, and my son works for Google, he's heading a team, he has a few university professors on the team with him. So they are part-time or they get for the job, but they all the time incorporated. Otherwise the know-how and the knowledge that is there is lost. And we don't think that, so this separation is not existent in Israel. And also you can make a lot of money. Professors in the university, they make their name, and the money they make in the private sector with what they know and develop. So this is very, very important. And we are there. I mean, when you speak to universities, they all have their own programs. By the way, I don't know if you know Mobileye. Mobileye is the autonomous cars company from Israel. Their second exit was it came out of the Hebrew, professor of the Hebrew University. Their second exit is $15 billion, the biggest exit we had in Israel of a high-tech company. And you think of how many royalties, not as much as the university wanted, yet they got quite a lot of royalties out of that. And medicine, Copaxone, which was a very known medicine of Teva, that made Teva as big as they are, the Israeli company, out of the Weizmann Institute, so research. So huge money came out of Copaxone, by the way, to the university. But please.
Robin, how much time do we have?
So we have 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So short question.
In 2001, when I started working on the firewall called the checkpoint release. So in 2019, I have a privilege to visit Israel. I gone to the different areas. So there are a lot of work on quantum computing is happening in Israel. And if you say the per capita innovations on quantum in the overall the world, it's coming in from Israel. And you have a national policy on the quantum also. So I want to add how the enterprise like us, which have something doing, they can collaborate with your research institutions. That's my area of concern.
Yeah, so on quantum, I must say, first of all, that I explained it to me in very simple words. But in general, India is at least as advanced in Israel. There is cooperation in quantum. Quantum is kept very closely because quantum is also, there is competition in the world, but it's also will be very important into defense in the future. It will be a big element of defense. So there is already cooperation going at the level of G2G, under G2G, but government institutions of both countries are working together on quantum. Otherwise, there are a few institutions in Israel that are doing research. Some of them I know have their own cooperation. Cooperation usually between universities and institutions in normal times, shouldn't go through governments. Governments is an impediment, not an assistant, I think. We can do the first matching if there is lack of knowledge, although in the academic world, people who are good in their field are known internationally, I think, leaders in their field. They need no introduction. They can be in 10,000 kilometers away, and India is only 5 hours away, direct flight from Delhi at least. So it's really close. I think you have countries that you called your neighborhood here in South Asia, which are probably more than 5 hours. Think of it, just, very interesting. So I think it goes without saying, the good people in the field, they know how to work together, they know how to apply together for funds, because that's, international funds for specific causes in their field. They are better than me. I can only disturb them. If they don't know, I can be the first bridge to be the start. After that, it has to go on merits.
Right. Thank you.
I'd like to share, I'm a horticulturist by profession, and we've had a very old association with Israel since 91, where my father got in the first irrigation system from Israel and tied up with a company called Dan Sprinklers to set up the first sprinkler system in our farm, where when no one in India knew about how to irrigate the farms. And Israel taught us how to do it. And we've been carrying on since then. We've improved with the passage of time.
I hope from 91 you improved. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we've improved a lot. We've been growing in about 150 hectares. We've got different varieties of citrus. And my point now is that we had a collaboration with them for about 5 to 7 years. Now after that, it just fell apart. But my point is that is there any way that the Israeli government can do a tie-up with either the government or with some private entrepreneurs in the state of Punjab, where farming is very vibrant? Just not in the sprinkler systems or irrigation systems, but there are other technologies which have come up, like for potatoes, for sugarcane, and the mechanization. So if the government can help the farmers by setting up an office here in this part of the country with the tie-up with our hosts, why not? It would expand the knowledge and also the presence of both the governments.
So thank you. First of all, by the way, in irrigation, of course, 70% of the market is owned by former Israeli companies, some of them still Israeli companies that Nan, Jane and things like that United were bought, M&As historically, but still the Israeli company's footprint is very, very strong in irrigation in India. What I suggest is we have Shani brought with her We have a commercial attaché lady. We cannot open offices. We have now in India, by the way, 3 representations. It's one of our biggest embassies in the world. India is very, very important for us. One of the biggest, but size is also an evidence of importance that we attach to India today in the relations. What I suggest is she has the business cards of our commercial attaché in Delhi. Delhi is in charge of Punjab. And we have also, by the way, one in Mumbai for people who are from that region, and one in Bangalore, which is more oriented towards high-tech, the ecosystem there. And take the card, write to Natasha, our commercial attaché, tell her what you have in mind, what are you looking for, and she will happily, that's her job, connect you to Israeli relevant companies in this field. So no one will open. The size, again, the magnitude. If there is a business interest, they are already here. They don't need the government for that. But if you're looking for our leads and connecting you, you have a specific field. We have an agriculture attaché in our embassy, but he does all the government-to-government non-profit work that we do in the centers of excellence. So he's not doing the business side of it. But she would, with pleasure, I'm sure, connect you to counterparts in Israel for things that you have an interest.
You'll be very happy to know that we also run an enterprise where we do rural tourism, and we host a lot of people from Israel who come and stay at the farm.
Yeah, there
farmers
is.
Who come and stay with us.
This is, in general, Israelis, they have, for many years, there is some tendency in Israel that people, when they finish their military service, they come to relax in India for a year or so. It's not regular, it's backpacking tourism. It's not about if they have money or they don't have money to spend. The idea is to live like the locals, to be very relaxed, not rush it, immersion into the culture. And now you have the second generations, the people who are now parents and their children are teenagers, they bring them because they want to share with them the experience they had when they were. So it's an ongoing thing. If you go in Israel, by the way, many people know a lot about Indian culture because these are people who didn't come as tourists to Mumbai or Delhi for 1 week, but they lived in India for 7, 8, 9 months. They know many places in India that I'm sure that even you guys haven't visited. Surely I haven't yet. Right. So it's part of the phenomena. It's really beautiful, by the way.
Yeah. Lots of.
I represent TiE Power Limited. We are one of the largest power renewable infrastructure companies in India. I see as India and as the world, really has ambition towards net zero carbon emissions. And I feel that when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about really renewable manufacturing, that's been really pioneered by the Chinese right now. And I feel that as an infrastructure company that there is a lot of opportunities in the manufacturing. As you mentioned that almost $1 billion is services and a lot of Israeli companies are into B2B. I really want to use this platform to say that how can we strengthen manufacturing in India as an infrastructure company? How can we leverage your technology and in providing a sustainable ecosystem for the generations, whether it is renewable energy or the EV infrastructure coming in the years to come. So I think that is an area that we should all look at and I think strengthen our manufacturing and technology tie-ups in the sustainability space.
I totally agree. It's less relevant if 9.5 million people in the world are bigger polluters or smaller polluters. Israel will not significantly influence the world in the level of carbon that we release because we are not the problem of the world. We are so small. But where we see and we try to be green. Where we can do, and what we are doing with the COP agenda, is we are trying to go towards technologies. Now, we were never good in manufacturing. By the way, solar panels from the 50s, every house in Israel has solar panels. It's not the most beautiful sight. Today they cover them from the sides that you don't see them from far away. But every house, for the heating of the water, since I was a child, 9 months a year, the heating came from the sun. 2-3 months you had to help the sun with, or even less than that sometimes, with the electricity. So we were there, but we are not good in infrastructure. That's why, what I was saying, we are good in EV industry, for example. Another element, Israel we don't manufacture vehicles, but we do manufacture a lot of technologies that go into EV now. Ola bought into an Israeli company about fast charging, for example. So we have elements there. That's why I think that there is huge compatibility between India and Israel, because you have the size, the industry, everything. We don't have it. It's a small country and we don't have the interest, we don't have the market, and it's wonderful what we can do, I think, together. Again, the Chinese are into infrastructure. I don't think that they are revolutionizing the world in technology. They are revolutionizing it in quantity, in scale. That's what they are doing. And that's what India will also do. And we will be part, I2U to the, this forum that we created, which is India, Israel, UAE, and the US. One of the projects, it's an American company that will lead the project of doing wind and solar farms in India. Israeli technology will be involved, and so we are already cooperating. Green hydrogen, there are cooperations. EV, there are cooperations in different fields, not only Ola. So there is ecosystems that are together, and I think that really here the marriage between your scalability and size and industry part and our, which is only supply of technology, no other abilities in this field. It's a match made in heaven. I hope the numbers are there of the economy, economic cooperation. We are growing tremendously, so it's happening. But there's still, it takes time, culture gap, speed. We are very fast. In India, things take more time. Israelis are not always patient enough to wait the time that is needed in order to have the fruitation here in India. So things are, you have to work out, but things are going quite well.
Your turn. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
4 or 5 Israeli security companies use our product. 4 or 5 Israeli companies use our product, and we feel that we have a market to go to, but is there somebody whom we should talk to? We are looking for a partner.
The product in what field?
It's a software product.
Software.
Yeah.
I will tell you bluntly, not to offend, but I will tell you, yes, your commerce is to promote Israeli companies' export to India, and his job is to promote Indian companies' export to Israel.
Okay.
The mandate is exactly the mirror mandate, so not to offend, but this is the reality. I would voluntarily help anyone, by the way, but I'm telling you that logically, it's their mandate there to promote it. And you have a good section there in Tel Aviv, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So, Ambassador, till a few months ago, I was the president of TiE Chandigarh, and this is reflecting upon the larger cross-section of the need that we see here in as far as increasing cooperation and collaboration with companies in Israel, as well as more inward and outward collaborations concerned. Now, one thing that I'd like to bring to your attention was about a year or so before COVID, there was a big event on startups that was organized by the Embassy of Israel. And 2 of the startups which were selected for, that came first as the most promising were both from Chandigarh. And I happened to head one of them. So the requirement in as far as, the need that I feel in as far as both personally as well as, as a platform is, people look at, Bangalore or Pune or other cities as centers Hyderabad as centers where there's a lot of startups, there's a lot of promise in as far as agri-tech, IT, security, AI. There's a lot of promise in this region. And TiE represents a platform of those very promising companies. So as I would like to request and I would like to call upon and request Your Excellency to work. We could work with the embassy and create more opportunities, both for Israeli companies investing here as well as Indian companies wanting to do more collaborations with Israel. So let this be a continuing discussion, both in education, solar, IT, software, AI, and quantum as things go forward.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Again, we are coming to the element of capacity. How much can we do? How much can we spread our abilities? So we understand the importance of Chandigarh. First of all, one of the most beautiful and planned cities, probably the most beautiful I visited in India. Or best planned for sure. Let's not offend others who will say. But Chandigarh is very close to Delhi. We know that. I mean, we are here quite often in comparison to other cities. So accessibility, everything is here. And it's not the first time we're here, as you said. We are again, and COVID was a little bit of a hiccup for all of us, unfortunately. But we want to cooperate. You have here Shani, you have Doron, who's working with her, is also here. And we are very happy to continue the cooperation. This year, I think Doron, you can fix me but if I'm wrong, but it's the first project we are doing of this kind. I mean, we did one of, but it was women in IIT Delhi. I think this is the second one that we are doing this year. So it's not that we capacity, again, it's one of our biggest embassies in the world, 10 diplomats. So, no, we have a staff of more than 100, but also capacity is a relative element, size is a relative element in general. But we are very happy. We understand, we know the potential here of Chandigarh in the schooling, the business school, the TiE, so the institutions here that are the ecosystem for excellence. We acknowledge that. That's why we are here.
Lovely. Mr. Mehta?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
I'm Ashok Mehta and run a couple of companies. What sort of cooperation can we really expect from you if we are looking into something in EV space, especially making it in motors and controllers out here in India with the Israeli technology?
So this is very simple. We put EV totally dependent on the world because we don't have our own industry. We are doing a lot. There is EcoMotion, an Israeli ecosystem company who is really doing the ecosystem of EV in Israel. We already connected them to companies like Sona, Hero, Ola, different companies who were interested in procurement in Israel or in looking into technologies. And we would be more than happy to do that. Just afterwards, Shani will give you the card of Natasha, our lady commercial attaché, and she will connect you easily to the ecosystem. We are very happy to do that. It's serving you, but it's serving me as well, at least as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are Israel, you pay for your water. Here we not only not pay for our water, we don't pay for our electricity also. I have only one small question. What is the percentage of desalinated water in the total consumption of water that you have?
Say maybe someone of you knows, but it goes into agriculture. So most of our agriculture is on reused water. Okay. I cannot tell you of, we had a problem. Our Sea of Galilee, the Kinneret, it was a huge water resource, and it was shrinking, going down every year. Right. Now we are pumping water, desalinized water, into the Kinneret. Most of the water we drink in Israel today is desalinized, by the way. It's not natural because we don't want to overexploit our natural resources. We are putting water back into nature because if not, our water resources have the risk of getting salted, overuse. So we are now filling them with rainwater, collection of rain, whatever. And once we are calm that we return the situation to a normal thing, we will start drinking maybe less desalinated and more, because desalinization now is not that expensive. And one of our virtues of Israel is the fact that we never had natural resources. Never. So, the necessity is the mother of invention, and that's why we looked for other countries that have it comfortable. They have no motivation to do it. So we found gas now. And gas in the Mediterranean, gas is important also for desalinization because the energy is a huge part of the cost of desalinizing. So this will also be now more affordable, I think, also for Israel, and more accessible, the gas for that. So I think that we will continue in big magnitude of desalinization, water treatment, whatever, and keeping our natural water in the ground and not over-exploiting them as we did, unfortunately, in the past.
Right, as we're doing in Punjab.
Everyone does it in the world. Most people come.
Thank you. I'm very fortunate to have had this session. I would now request Mr. Robin Agarwal, President TiE Chandigarh, to step up for the vote of thanks.
And glad to know that this is the second program that you're doing with us after IIT Delhi Women program. So we're all fortunate to be here with you today. I think we have got levers into how to proceed with collaboration with Israeli ventures now. Shani is here, Daron is here. So we will get in touch more seriously, exploring more educational, more business collaborations now, and we'll see how it goes forward. Again, thank you for being here with us, and we'll have the second part of the competition. It's the most eagerly awaited competition about the sustainability startups, starting at 6 now. We'll take a break now. Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.